Alright guys, so in today's video, we're going to be reacting to the Wuthering Waves drama tier list. Now, this video is actually creative because I saw this on my feed and I was like, did this person just make a tier list ranking every woo drama in the community? Like, that's actually funny as hell. Because let's be honest, guys, when it comes to the woo community, drama is just inevitable in this community. It's literally inevitable. So you guys can see he has all the drama arcs here, and he's going to place them in this tier list. And the content creator here is Neon Infinity. So I'm going to put the link to this video in the description so that you guys can check out this content creator, and you guys can go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. But without further ado, man, I'm really interested to see what he has to say when it comes to woo drama and how he's going to rank it.
Hello everyone and welcome to perhaps the dumbest video that I have ever made. And by dumb, it's really...
I don't think this is dumb. I think this is funny. I think it's going to be a pretty funny video. But let's go and speed it up.
Self-deprecating to this community, I'll be honest. But today I'm going to be ranking every single Wuthering Waves controversy that at least I know. So feel free to let me know if I've missed out on anything.
So let's take a look at all the drama here. So we have the Mavwika versus Augusta arc. Okay. Understandable. Yeah, Mavwika versus Augusta. People are making comparisons. I ain't gonna lie, I was doing the same thing too. But Mavwika and Augusta, we have the 7 out of 10 drama. I will be real, when it comes to all the drama arcs, I think the 7 out of 10 one is the craziest one out of all of them. Because one, it got blown out of proportion and it became a meme. Even I'm participating in the meme. You know what I'm saying? So 7 out of 10, that shit was funny. 2.3. Wait, what was the 2.3 incident? What happened? What happened in 2.3? Let me see real quick. Oh, I'm so stupid. 2.3 was the anniversary. Yo, the anniversary was wild. That shit was wild. Woowa bat launch, Scar, and what is that? I can't read the rest there. Male characters, okay. Censorship, all right. Lack if what? I can't read some of these. They're too small. Let's just play the video.
And where you would rank it, I guess. So let's go over the tiers. So at the bottom, we've got this happened. Apparently it happened. So irrelevant that I really just didn't know it happened. Or even if I did know, it's just that irrelevant. Above it, we have niche Twitter level drama. Of course, you're going to get a lot of that. So yeah. Above it, we have talked about for 1 week, then forgotten immediately, which I have a feeling a lot of those will be on here. And up next, we've got consequential, but not bad. Basically saying that the controversy has consequences, maybe on how the community is viewed or how the game's viewed, but it's not inherently bad, like nothing world-ending. Above that, we've got community-destroying potential. Now, this is pretty bad, of course, you know, something that may just ravage the community forever, like everlasting consequences, is kind of more serious, like the tier below, but more serious. And up top, of course, nothing other than end of
community-destroying potential. That's where Genshin Impact is at right now.
Service potential. This
I'm trying to aggro all the Hoyo shows in this video.
Can destroy the game. So without any further ado, let's get on to the controversies. First up, we have a pretty simple one in my opinion, and that is Mavwika versus Augusta. We've seen
Mavwika versus Augusta. Honestly, that one, Mavwika versus Augusta, it's still happening. Like, it's not that crazy. Like, nobody really cares about that. You have some people on Twitter bringing it up, but it's Twitter, dude. Twitter is filled with a bunch of idiots. So I will say Mavwika versus Augusta, that's like niche Twitter level drama, right? It's just niche Twitter. To say that it's irrelevant, I don't think it's irrelevant because people are still talking about it. They're still comparing Mavwika and Augusta. So I think that's niche Twitter level drama right there.
You have Twitter post about
because it's not forgotten.
The better Mavwika, and then we've seen Genshin fans tweeting the opposite, like, oh, Augusta's just a sluttier Mavwika. And honestly, this is really just niche Twitter level drama.
Exactly.
You can't put it any higher because it's just literally
not pre-watch, by the way, guys. Did not pre-watch this.
Just little digs. Next up, we've got the 7 out of 10. Now,
okay, 7 out of 10. Would I say consequential? I don't know, man. Like, if we're saying consequential on Genazad, like on his side, I will say he is getting a lot of dislikes in his videos. So I will say he is getting ratioed pretty hard. So I would put that at consequential, but not bad. That's where I would put the 7 out of 10.
You have to actually publicly weigh in on this with my opinion, and I will give it now. I do not mean to be offensive when I say this, but from the outside looking in, when people do not have all the details, it looks like the Wuthering Waves community is just attacking content creators for giving them a bad rating.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, so, and I made this community post, by the way. I said, is it just me, or is a 7 out of 10 drama just childish? You know, grown men beefing with each other. A lot of people were assuming that I was saying, oh, it was only about the rating. Trust me, guys, I got the context. I know, I knew what was going on. Him saying that he got invited to Kuro Fest and all that. I literally said that in like one of my most previous videos, right? My most recent videos. I know what's going on. The reason why I said it's a little bit childish is because of the way that the community was just dragging it. You know what I'm saying? Like when it got to CN, it got a little bit weird. You know, some people in CN were taking pics of him or some shit. I don't know, but it was getting a little bit out of control. But it was still funny though. I think the 7 out of 10 meme is still hilarious. I think it's funny as fuck. But it was like, if you look at it as an outsider, like if you are not part of the community, you don't know what's going on, you don't have context, you're honestly going to think that the drama is just blown out of proportion, right? It's really not that big of a deal, because from an outside perspective, you're going to be like, it's just a rating. But when you look into more details, it wasn't just about the rating, you know? So I'm going to say consequential, but not bad.
However, there is nuance to this. Because, of course, the reason why this 7 out of 10 rating was given when everybody else was giving like 9s and at least high 8s. Just for context, this is about the rating for the 2.5 main story request. I gave it, I think, a 9.4. So when someone goes through the story and doesn't pay attention during...
I gave it a 9 out of 10. That's what I gave the story.
Key moments, just interacts with chat, meanwhile there's a really sort of sad cutscene going on, it doesn't exactly help at all, does it? However, from the outside looking in, like I said, it looks pretty bad. Because, let's be honest here, ratings are subjective, right? A 7 for somebody might not be the same as a 7 for another person. Like a 7, 70% is a first-class university degree in the UK. So ultimately, my opinion is that...
And I hope when it comes to the Woo community, I just hope like we don't head towards this direction where we start getting butthurt over ratings. It's not happening yet, and there's definitely some people out there in the community that get butthurt over opinions and ratings. 100%. It's in every community, right? But hopefully, it doesn't get to a point where, you know, if a content creator, if like, even though I paid attention to the story, right, and I said, in my opinion, I think this is a solid 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. Hopefully, these niggas don't crash out and get all mad about it, you know. But I don't think that's gonna happen when it comes to the Woo community. As long as you're being reasonable, you pay attention, they're not really gonna crash out on you. Because when I reacted to the story, full of a story, when I played through it, the comment section under my video, it was chill, right? It was really chill. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I also expressed my thoughts about the story. I included, you know, some critiques. I said, you know, the way Frolova was talking was a little bit confusing. You know, there was a little bit of yapping. Nobody was mad about that. So, yeah, I do agree that it wasn't just about the rating only, bro. It wasn't about the rating. It was just the fact that, you know, he said some, you know, weird things, saying that I got invited to Kuro Fest, which was pretty odd. And people were saying that he just wasn't paying attention, right? Which is understandable. Yeah.
Genazad completely wrong for basically giving an unjust rating out of something. Absolutely. Does he deserve the backlash that he's getting for basically doing that and then also doing a terrible response? Yes, I think so. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be offended by the fact that somebody that didn't pay attention to the story give it such a low rating. Because when everyone else is giving...
I agree, man. Because some people, they are taking offense to, like, you know, what he said. I'm like, me personally, I don't really care, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really care. He made a mistake. If he's not willing to, you know, hold himself accountable, it is what it is. Let's move on. That's why I haven't dropped a single video talking about it at all. When it comes to drama between CCs, I don't really cover that, right? I don't really cover that because I don't really care about it. It doesn't affect me, right? I only focus on the company. I focus on the company, which is Hoyo and Kuro. I focus on them. And I make videos criticizing the company and the community as well. But when it comes to CCs, I don't do that shit, bro.
It 9s
I stay in my own lane.
What's a random 7 out of 10 gonna do? Even the Honkai Star Rail shill himself, Mr. Pokey, gave it a high rating. If that dude is, then it pretty much invalidates Genazad's opinion, okay, guys? So you guys should probably let me know in the comments what you think of, I guess, the whole situation. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you agree? But ultimately, I'm going to put it in community destroying potential. Now, I don't think it has
community destroy potential. I disagree. I would say consequential, but not bad. That's where I would put it. That's my opinion.
has destroyed the community. However, it doesn't look good. From an outside perspective, it really just does not look good. Next up, we have update 2.3. Now, what I mean by that is just the entirety of the update, I'll be honest.
Okay, 2.3 EOS potential, bro. 2.3 was cinema dog shit, man. 2.3 was so ass. That was like one of the worst updates in the game because it was an anniversary patch, right? And Kuro, like, they pretty much built so much hype for the game. Like, the reason why 2.3 was just such a letdown is because when you look at Wuwa before 2.3 launch, the game was just, I wouldn't say the game was, but the game was just good. You know, the game is really good. All the things that we asked for when it comes to Hoyo, they put that shit in Wuwa, right? So to see how like they were giving us a bunch of rewards, it's like we were pretty much conditioned to believe that they're going to give us a free 5-star character for 2.3. And what made it worse was the community's reaction to that. Some people are like, oh, you're being greedy and stingy. And it's like, no, like you can't really blame people for expecting the devs to give them a free 5-star when they gave it to, you know, the player, like when they gave it to us before, Zhang Liao, right? They gave Zhang Liao for free because the game wasn't doing really well. The game was not performing well, so they gave us a free Zhang Liao as a sort of, you know, to pretty much apologize to us. But if they can do that, but they can't do that for an anniversary, first anniversary, right? Pretty weird. So 2.3, it was just very controversial for sure. Like it was one of the worst patches in my opinion. The cube event was fucking dog shit. Zani, she was extremely restrictive. Until this day, I literally do not play with Zani, guys. I'm being real with y'all. When it comes to Zani, I hate playing with that character because she is so damn clunky with Rover. It just feels so, ugh, I hate it. It's just disgusting. So I will say Zani's kit was also frustrating and it pissed me off that, you know, they just restrict her to just one tiny little spectral frazzle unit. It was so annoying. And the community, right? The way that the community was acting in 2.3 was just absolutely unbearable. It was so divided. One side you had people pretty much saying that the anniversary was dog shit. And on the other side, you had people saying that, oh, you know, Kuro, they gave us a lot. You know, they did a lot of good things for us. You guys are being greedy, you know? Like, it was insane, bro. So I will say for 2.3, that shit was EOS potential, bro. EOS potential.
About it, basically the anniversary rewards,
that was probably like the biggest
content,
drama
events,
so
all
far.
Of that stuff. I'm going to put it in consequential, but not bad. Because by consequential, I mean
EOS potential, man. That shit divided the community, bro. AstroTurfers, that niggas in the Hoyo community infiltrating the Wuwa community. It was insane, man.
That we will probably get a way better anniversary now. In the second anniversary, we will definitely get a way better anniversary because of the amount of uproar that this caused. The update was, in my opinion, I gave my opinion on it, and I think it was fine. I definitely agreed that, you know, things were lackluster.
Yeah, me personally, that shit was ass, bro. 2.3 was bad. It was a bad patch, especially for an anniversary update. Pretty bad.
But I thought it was fine. It's technically not bad because we're eating now, so 2.4 showed us why 2.3 was bad. Up next, we have bad launch. Now, I'm gonna have to say it. This is end of service potential because you guys need to understand.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Wuwa's launch was bad. That shit was fucking terrible, man. There's a reason why we called it buggering waves. But yeah, global launch for Wuwa, EOS potential for sure.
A launch is everything for a game. If the game has a bad launch, it is so much harder to grow and basically earn money. You know what a game's supposed to do. And Wuthering Waves had a terrible launch. I mean, with, like, for example, the bugs, the story, at least compared to what it is now, was pretty bad. The voice acting for some characters was bad.
Oh yeah, the story was fucking trash. Oh my gosh, dude, the story at the beginning of the game was a fucking snooze fest. Like, when I went through the story, nigga, I slept through that shit. It was so bad. The skip button was a gift from God. I was mashing that shit. But it is good to see how they, like Kuro, they pretty much, you know, pick themselves up, right? They picked themselves up and they continued the grind. You know, they never gave up, which is, you know, very, very dope. So to see how the game started off really, really bad, and now you have characters like Augusta, you know, Artethia, Zani with amazing animations. The story is getting a little bit better. for some people they don't like the story, but for a lot of people they actually do like the story. So to see how, Wuwa went from being complete dog shit at day one, and then now it's just amazing, very, very cool.
Agree
Still
that
have some
the game
issues
had a
though,
really
but
rocky start. Now
game
the
is really good
reason,
right
now
now.
the reason why the game didn't fall into obscurity was because Kudo Games did just not stop there. They went above and beyond to make sure that the community got what they deserved for basically sticking with the game. We got
Yeah.
pre-limited 5 stars, we got tons of pulls, we got compensated a lot for it. And look where the game is now. It's thriving. So I think yes, I think the bad launch was end of service potential, but obviously the game isn't end of service, so it never came to fruition. Next up we have a funny one. I didn't even know this happened, I'll be honest. It's the Scar Onigiri.
Yeah, what is this?
Now this also does link.
Wait, Scar Onigiri? Oh, that's definitely this happened tier. What the fuck is that drama, bro? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Into another topic that I'm going to be covering in like two topics time. But basically what happened is Kudo Games updated Scar's model and they removed his onigiri. Now, I'm not going to explain what an onigiri is. If you know, you know. If you don't, then you don't. Basically, it was a form of quote-unquote censorship. However, I did look it up before doing this video, and there were a few...
They censored Scar? I never knew that. Man, I promise y'all, man, like, I ain't gonna lie. When it comes to some characters, right? When I take a look at censorship in these gacha games, right? For example, let's say Wuthering Waves. Some of the things that they censor, I don't even notice it because it's not that deep, bro. Like, when it comes to Contarella, right? Niggas were literally crying because they censored her panties or whatever. Some people said that never happened, right? It was fake. I don't know. But if that did happen, if they did censor Contarella where they remove, you guys know what I'm talking about, but they removed that. Who cares? Like, who cares, bro? Like that shit. When I summoned for Contarella, nigga, I wasn't paying attention to that at all. It's such a small, tiny thing. Like, these niggas are just extreme gooners, man. Like, y'all really need to talk to some females in real life. Like, for real. It's not that fucking serious, bro. It's not that deep.
Post on it. So I'm going to put it in niche Twitter level drama.
I would put it in this happen, bro. That shit is just
characters, or rather,
cringe.
lack thereof male characters. Now, I'm going to give my 2 cents on this as well, because...
Male characters? I wouldn't put in talked about for 1 week, then forgotten. I would put it in consequential, but not bad. Because when it comes to the lack of male characters, I do agree that it's definitely annoying that, the game lacks male characters and it's mostly female characters. So, I want more variety in the game, right? More variety. Make it a little bit more flexible. So I'll put this in consequential, but not bad.
Not only is this a ranking video, I have to rank based on my opinion, really. And I genuinely think that it's okay if you want more male characters. However, if you just make your personality about that, then you need to focus on other things, I'm afraid. I get the want for, like, more badass male characters, right? But in my opinion, if the character is designed well, then what does it matter if they're male or female? What does it matter? And I don't want to lean into this whole, like, love and deep space scenario, but...
I agree. That's why I say this too, like, you can complain about the game lacking male characters, but do you guys see me constantly bitching about the game lacking male characters in every video? No. And whenever they release a new character, right, let's say Augusta, I'm excited. Notice how I didn't say a damn thing about male characters in version 2.6. You know why? Because as long as the female characters look cool and I like them, that's all that matters, right? I would definitely like more male characters because, let's be honest, when it comes to the gacha space, we need more male influence. We need more testosterone. We need more masculinity in the space, bro. So that's one of the main reasons why I want more male characters. We need more masculinity, all right? But if the female character looks cool, I'm fine.
It's really proven that males just simply do not sell as well as women in gacha games. That's just simple as that. Now, does it completely excuse Kudo from making, like, no males ever? No. But at the end of the day, if the character has a good personality, good kit, good just design in general, then what does it matter, So ultimately, believe me, I'm going to put this in niche Twitter level drama. Now, we're back to the censorship debate again.
I would put it in consequential, but not bad. And the reason why I put in consequential is because some people will actually quit the game because of that, right? Like, some players will leave the game if there's not enough male characters. And the same applies if they don't add enough female characters, right? If this game barely have female characters, a lot of people would actually leave the game. So I would put this in consequential, but not bad. That's where I would put it. Because some
Actual
people do
censorship
quit
debate. Now,
games if there's not
this
enough male
was during
characters or female
2.2 when I
characters.
believe Cantarella and Fleur de Lis received some design changes that seemed like censorship because of the game's age rating going up. They tried to basically censor a few things to get it back down. I did cover this as well. Now, of course, at the time, this was pretty bad, right? However,
I will put this and talked about for 1 week, then forgotten immediately. And the reason why I would do that is because it was a really hot topic for like 1 week. And then after that, nobody's really talking about this anymore because it's really not that serious, bro.
it was literally only talked about for a week.
Exactly.
When it all went back to normal,
exactly.
Have we heard about it again?
Not pre-watch, guys. Not pre-watched.
We have never ever heard of it ever again. Next up, we have a lack of apocalypse theme. Now, the reason why
what was this about? I didn't know anything about this. I'm putting this in this happened tier. I don't know what this is all about.
Put Ryukyu Sensei's logo in there is because he is sort of the biggest mouthpiece for this sort of this agenda. That Wuthering Waves is clearly not what it used to be in terms of its apocalyptic sort of theming. However, I have to completely 100% totally disagree, because the reason why it changed is because we went from Huanglong to Rinascita. Of course, you're going to have different quote-unquote themes for these regions, but the apocalyptic theme, in my opinion, is still there. It's just manifested differently. Instead of...
Wait, so he said the apocalyptic theme is no longer like in Rinascita? Like he's saying like the apocalyptic theme is pretty much just gone? I don't know how to feel about that. I might say I disagree with that too. Even in Rinascita, like the apocalyptic theme is still in Rinascita, right? You look at the whole story in Septimont, right? The Dark Tide, I think that's what, yeah, the Dark Tide, and the whole incident where, oh, if we don't fix, because for all of us, she pretty much warned Rover. She was like, hey man, in 3 days, bro, about to be the end of the world. You better fix this shit. You know what I'm saying? So to say that the like Rinascita pretty much lost the apocalyptic theme, that's a weird take.
The lament and overwhelming numbers of tacit discords and overthrax the Threnodian.
When it comes to the apocalyptic theme in Rinascita, it's just not in your face compared to Huanglong. Because when you go to Huanglong, I mean, nigga, you see fucking buildings destroyed. It's crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? But when you go to Rinascita, you don't really see, buildings destroyed and a whole lot of crazy shit. Now, you guys know that one location in Huanglong where like it's a city and it's just completely destroyed. And plus, when you go to the Black Shores, right, and you had that whole story quest with Shorekeeper, and how Rover was trying to figure out, like, time and time again, Rover pretty much experienced like the end of the world multiple times and trying to figure out a solution on how to avoid. I forgot what that apocalyptic event was called. I forgot. Let me know in the comment section down below. It's been a minute. But when it comes to Huanglong, Huanglong is pretty much the introduction, right, for Wuthering Waves. It's the intro. And then Rinascita is more of like Act 1. Like when you look at Genshin Impact, you have Mondstadt, which was like the prelude. And then you go to Leeway. Leeway was like Chapter 1, Act 1. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
We've got a sort of Trojan horse, Leviathan, Dark Tide problem going on right now that's still going on. It's proving very hard to get rid of Leviathan and the Dark Tide. A Dark Tide that corrupted basically the Pope of Rinascita. A Dark Tide that, if grows strong enough, will drown the entire region. And that in itself is basically the definition of apocalyptic. So I have to completely disagree with that. But to rate it, again, niche Twitter level drama. Next up, now this doesn't technically apply to just Wuthering Waves, it applies to...
What is this, Genshin Killer? Genshin Killer, this shit has been here for a long time, bro. Genshin Killer, I would put niche Twitter level drama. And the reason why is because how many times have we called the game a Genshin Killer? Tower Fantasy, Wuthering Waves, Neverness to Everness, Ananta. Like, so many games we called it the Genshin Killer, bro, and it just never happened, right? When it comes to Genshin Impact, this game will never die. And the reason why is because the community is just too weak. The community is filled with a bunch of pussies that just simply cannot control themselves, bro. When it comes to these characters, you know, the sunk house fallacy is strong with these people, bro. Like they just don't want to admit that the game is cooked. Don't want to admit it. And that's why they keep spending money over and over and over again. You look at Mavweek and Silly both in one phase, bro, and people still drop money after that. And I heard that Flynn's and the 6.0 characters, right? The two new characters, they're gonna be in phase one, both of them. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But if that is true, just know that niggas are still gonna spend money on the game, bro. Like it's actually insane. The game still has 50-50. And even before the game had 50-50 on the weapon banner, you guys remember the weapon banner back in like global launch and Genshin Impact? Nigga, there was no guarantee. There was no 50-50. It was either you get the weapon or you don't get the weapon. It blows my mind that we didn't complain about that shit in global launch. Like we just let it slide. What opened our eyes was the fucking Staffahoma incident. That's what opened our eyes, and we realized how shit the weapon banner was, and it still lasts until this day.
Every single gacha game that comes out nowadays, and it's the Genshin Killer title. However, Wuthering Waves was given this title, so technically it does deserve its own spot in here. Now, do I think it's the Genshin Killer? Oh, absolutely. But do I think it can completely destroy Genshin forever? No,
Hell
because
no.
Genshin has too big of a casual player base
Yeah.
for it to die. Do I think it's worthy of the title? Yes, I do think it is. Like one of the only games that is worthy.
Yeah, Wuwa definitely, like if you say that Wuthering Waves is not better than Genshin Impact, you're fucking cooked in the head, bro. Everything that you ask for in Genshin Impact, it's in Wuwa. The skip button, that's in Wuthering Waves. A proper artifact loadout, that's in Wuthering Waves. Being able to explore without summoning for characters, like being able to explore efficiently, right? You have wings, you can fly. Wuwa has that. Hopefully, we can be able, you know, to fly in Huanglong, hopefully in the future. But I don't have to summon for a limited 5-star character to, you know, unlock enhanced exploration. I get that shit for free. All right. No 50-50 on the weapon banner. The in-game content when it comes to TOA, shit's pretty clearable with old characters. We're still early. It's like the game's like 1 year old, 1 years old, but still pretty good. The fact that TOA is still healthy until this day. We will, on the other hand, I ain't gonna lie, Whimpering Waste is fucking cooked. If they don't fix that shit, bro, we was done, bro. But it's just a better game. It's literally a better game. When it comes to the gameplay, it's faster, it's smoother. It doesn't feel clunky. You know, if I don't have, you know, my elemental skill, I'm just fucking running around, just doing stupid shit. Like I don't feel as if the gameplay is clunky. The gameplay doesn't feel clunky at all. It feels very smooth. If my character is in cooldown, I can just switch. I get the fucking outro skill, get the intro skill, pop that ultimate, run the rotation again. The gameplay is just fun, right? So, Wu was just better.
Title, mind you. But where do I think it goes? Talked about for 1 week, then forgotten immediately. Because the games only get branded with that title when they come out, right? Because you've got nothing else to focus on in the game. So you compare it to other things. But for example, right now, sure, we're having really good updates. It still gets compared to Genshin and how much better it is, but still, the Genshin Killer title has sort of disappeared. Now, speaking of comparing, we have the Comparing Waves title. Basically, this is the...
Comparing Waves, I'm going to say Comparing Waves is... It wasn't talked about for 1 week because people are still comparing Wuthering Waves to Genshin Impact, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I would put this in consequential but not bad. And the reason why I put it in consequential but not bad is because, and I'm not saying that this is going to ruin Wuwa. No, this is actually going to ruin Genshin even more. Because the more Kuro they implement changes into the game, the more people are going to compare Wuwa to Genshin. They're going to be like, damn, bro, like Wuwa is doing everything us Genshin players wanted the devs to do for Genshin. They're doing everything that the devs are not doing in Genshin Impact. I think we should go play Wuwa instead. That's why I would put it in consequential. I would put in consequential for Genshin. But when it comes to Wuwa, like comparing waves, niche Twitter level drama.
Wuwa community, and by when I say community, I do not mean to generalize it. I just mean that there are some people in the community that I can't really like name and shame because there's too many. But I also can't say the entire community because, of course,
I'm
it's all
viewing
right,
this I'm viewing this in a different perspective, by the way, guys. I'm literally talking about this in a different perspective.
of doing this, but I'm not going to rope every single Wuthering Waves player into this category. And that's basically the Wuthering Waves quote-unquote community, select few people again, comparing Genshin and other games to WoWA, for example, like Star Rail, Zenless, and the like. Now, the problem is, right, comparison actually breeds competition. So I actually do not think this is a bad controversy to have. It's
Yeah,
when
exactly.
it's overly done is the problem. Again, this is sort of niche
Niche,
Twitter
yeah,
level
it's
drama
niche.
because you only see comparing waves on Twitter. The controversial comparing waves anyways.
The only time I would compare WoWA to Genshin is when I'm trying to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody comes at me, I will only use it to prove a point and counter, someone's argument. If they tell me, hey man, they don't have to put, a skip button in Genshin. They don't have to do these things. I'm like, if they can put it in WoWA, why can't they put it in Genshin? And Genshin makes way more money than WoWA. Like, what are we even talking about? You see what I'm saying? So I would just compare to prove a point.
Because, of course, I've done comparing videos. Now, I didn't even know this one existed, but I'll give a rundown. Plagiarism waves. There was a few posts on Twitter when Septimont came out about WoWA ripping off Star Rails on Faros because they have the same theming. And then I just immediately...
This one is fucking cringe. I would put this in niche Twitter level drama, bro. This one is so cringe, bro. Like, the plagiarism waves things is just cringe as fuck. Because when you look at Genshin, even Genshin, bro, you look at Genshin and Breath of the Wild, people were literally going crazy when Genshin first came out. They were saying, oh my gosh, this Breath of the Wild clone, right? You guys, everybody was doing that. But now people want to pretend that, that never happened. And now they're saying, oh, Wu was plagiarizing off of, they're plagiarizing Genshin. It's like, buddy, come on, dude. You guys were the same one saying that Genshin was plagiarizing Legends of Zelda. Fuck out of here with that shit.
thought, okay, so Star Rail came up with Greek and Roman mythology and theming and sort of architecture and stuff like that. Great, nice. So, yeah, immediately this happened because... what a silly thing to say, man. Honestly.
Yeah, it's fucking
Next up,
cringe,
we have
man.
Gooning waves. Now, this pertains to Cantarella when she was being
Okay,
marketed.
this one, I'm going to say for this one, it was consequential, but not bad. And the reason why is because for the whole Cantarella thing, you had the XJJ involved. You had niggas trying to mass report the game. Like, it was fucking ridiculous, man. It was insane. It was a lot of hypocritical people too. Like this controversy, like Cantarella, her trailer exposed a lot of hypocrites. I even made a video exposing some hypocrites on Twitter because they would sit there and bitch about Cantarella saying, oh my gosh, we will stop sexualizing these female characters. But then I checked their Twitter page, they're sexualizing male characters and female characters. Like, they're literally showing two women having sex on their Twitter page. It's ridiculous. It was actually insane, man.
When she came out, I saw a lot of Genshin fans basically slandering Cantarella's design, calling her many things, many bad things, might I add. But little did they know that was actually Kuro Games' 5 million IQ in play, because that's what she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be a femme fatale, like all sexy and voluptuous on the outside, but in...
Meanwhile, Llama is a naked goddess. Rules for thee, but not for me.
reality, they have a lot of depth, which is what they did. She got given a lot of depth in the story, and the whole purpose of that cherry on the tongue scene was to actually show that she had 6 sort of, I don't know what they're called, like stars or like marks in her tacit mark, which shows that she actually is supposed to be the Sentinel's resonator, but she turned it down. Of course, as someone that does not play the game, for example, the Genshin fans that were slandering her, of course they wouldn't know that. So yeah, realistically, talked about for 1 week, then forgotten immediately because nobody
talks fair enough.
Cantarella's design anymore. Until Genshin Impact decided to do the goddess of fertility gimmick with Lauma. Then
exactly, bro. And then they were like, "Oh, she's a naked goddess." Man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, man. Y'all gonna sit here and doom post Cantarella, go crazy, and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is porn. This is literally soft porn." And then you got Llama, who's pretty much naked, right? And they're like, "Dude, she's a naked goddess. What are you talking about, nigga? Please." Fuck out of here, man.
Double standards. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Exactly.
And the penultimate controversy is the reception of negative statuses. Now,
Ooh, negative status. Nigga, that's EOS potential right there. I don't care what anybody says, bro. I'm dying on that hill. Negative status is EOS potential. And the reason why I say that is because Kuro can go even further with negative status. They could make that shit even more predatory. Because when you look at, right, you look at Zani, right? Zani revolving around Spectral Frazzle and Phoebe is the only character in the game that can amplify Spectral Frazzle. She can buff Spectral Frazzle damage. My nigga, that shit is fucking crazy, bro. When it comes to Spectral Rover, all he can do is inflict it and reduce like the resistance of the enemy, right? It's just it's just not that crazy, you know? Like, there's just not a lot of options. If we had a 4-star character that can inflict Spectral Frazzle and also buff Spectral Frazzle damage at the same time and provide heals or some shit like that, that would be dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be a broken 4-star character for Spectral Frazzle units. Of course, that 4-star character might not be as busted as Phoebe, but you still have that as an option. But the fact that you have just no alternatives but Spectral Rover and Phoebe is insane. And then on top of that, you have Arrow Rover. Bro revolves around arrow erosion, but he can't even inflict it. Like, make it make sense. He can't even inflict arrow erosion, but his kit revolves around that. I wouldn't say if he revolves around it. It's more like his outro skill pretty much increases the max like the max stacks for arrow erosion, right? It's just weird, man. And then Cartethia, good thing about Cartethia is that she can actually apply air erosion. If Cartethia couldn't apply air erosion, that would have been 10 times worse than Zani, because at least for Zani, you had Spectral Rover. But when it comes to Air Rover, he can't even inflict that shit. So they had to let Cartethia inflict it, because if she didn't, you had no choice but to summon for Chacona. Literally no choice. So they can go even further with this shit, and it can get even more predatory with it. You look at Weewa and the buffs revolving around negative status as well as TOA. Bro, this shit is EOS potential, man.
By this is the fact that
this can destroy the game, bro. Like, genuinely, it can destroy the game.
The way that Kuro games introduce negative statuses on the character side, anyways, because I know enemies give negative statuses, but on the character side, some of the community felt like it was a bit predatory and a bit like not flushed out enough. Now, while I can somewhat sympathize with that notion, we also have to understand that every new archetype has its growing pains. Now, we are moving away from that, it seems, because I don't think we're getting any new sort of negative status characters. However, I can also just
like, I'm actually glad the fact that Kuro, they're not dropped. Like, the last negative status character we really had was Cartethia, right? Ever since then, they haven't dropped a single negative status character, which is pretty good. So hopefully, okay, hopefully they, continue doing that, because it would be a huge bummer if they drop a character that everybody's looking forward to, especially Chisa, and Chisa's kit revolves around negative status. Nigga, I'm crashing out, bro.
Disagree, because, for example, Rover, Spectral Rover, was given new abilities to accommodate these negative statuses. A Rover version that was, mind you, already released, because it was their base version. And then they also made a new version of Rover, Aero Rover, to synergize with upcoming characters. So it was just growing pains. And again, I think just talked about for 1 week and then forgotten immediately.
I disagree. I would put EOS potential, man. EOS potential, because this can literally cause a lot of problems in the future if they, if they don't release a lot of 4-star characters. If they keep releasing 5-star units that revolve around negative status, it's not going to look good. So this is 100% EOS potential. That's my opinion, though.
Really. And the last controversy,
Rover Glaze.
Rover Glaze controversy. Now, this is
Rover Glaze is fucking annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Rover Glaze is just frustrating, because every single time you talk about Rover, you have to glaze the character. I remember when I said that Air Rover was trash, niggas were like, oh, it doesn't matter. He has a lot of aura, so it's fine. Stop doom posting. I'm like, nigga, I don't give a fuck if he has aura, bro. He's shit. And this was before Cartethia released. Before Cartethia released, Arrow Rover was fucking useless. He was ass. All right? He was trash. And a lot of people didn't want to accept that because they glazed this nigga so fucking much, bro. Like, the shaft is deep down their fucking throat. It's insane.
is for the OGs.
And then you have the
This is for the
2.5
OGs.
story.
What the problem was with this is that every new character that Rover met would glaze them to a point where they would just be so endeared to them. They'd be practically in love. Like, oh, Rover, oh my goodness, your sword is so sharp. Your hair is so good.
Oh, he's
my
talking
God,
about the
did you know you
characters.
look like Sanji?
I'm talking about the community glazing Rover. That's what I'm talking about. But when it comes to characters glazing Rover, yeah, that can be annoying, but I don't really care that much, to be honest.
In Wu. However, that has been toned down tremendously in recent times, and toned down to a point where we now have a flawed Rover, where Frolova does not glaze Rover at all, but instead actually despises him in a way. That died down. Yes, I believe if it continued to be that way, a lot of the, well, maybe not a lot of the community, but a sizable chunk would leave, just because they'd be tired of every new character sort of glazing them, because it doesn't really complement the story very well, especially when every character sort of acts the same like they're a robot, kind of like how it's a harem. So for the last one, I'm going to have to put it in consequential, but not bad. It had consequences because it actually gave us better stories, but it wasn't bad. I didn't mind it back then. I'm not sure how I would now if it kept going. I can't really say. Guys, I forgot one.
If it kept going, if it kept going with every single female character, it would be tiring at some point. Like, holy shit, can Rover have like a different dynamic with, you know, these characters? Like, does it have to be the same shit over and over again? Them just glazing him and they like him or some shit? Like, I don't know, it's just annoying.
I've added it. Gathering Wives Controversy. Now, I wouldn't say this is a controversy within the community, but rather an opinion that the outside has on the game. Is that basically every single character is like a wife and you need to gather them. This kind of ties in with the Rover Glaze stuff. However, I cannot put it
Talked
in
about for 1 week
because it happens every time we collect a new wife. You know, every time
that is
we
true.
have a companion quest, it's said. But at the end of the day, it's not bad.
Niche
again,
Twitter level drama.
They actually learned from this with Frolova. So again, I'm gonna have to put it with Rover Glaze in the consequential but not bad section.
Okay.
And that is my finished tier list. I hope you guys.
All right, let's take a look at this, man. I mean, I agree with Bat Launch being EOS potential, community destroying potential, Genizad. Okay, I agree with that. Consequential but not bad. 2.3, 2.3. When did I said I think it was EOS potential. I would say 2.3 was probably community destroying potential. Community destroying for sure. Rover Glaze. Consequential but not bad. In Gathering Ways, okay. Censorship. Talked about for 1 week. I think I said it was consequential, but talked about for 1 week, understandable. Genshin Killer, okay. Gooning Waves. Negative status is EOS potential. Yeah, I would definitely put that up there in EOS potential. Because it's the same shit with, like, let's look at Genshin Impact, for example, right? You look at Natlan characters. At first, it's the same situation. At first, people are like, it's not that bad, right? It's not that deep. You look at Fontaine. Fontaine was pretty tame. You know, it was pretty chill. If Natlan was the same as Fontaine when it comes to the Numa and Osea thing, no problem, because Numa and Osea mechanic was like optional. It really wasn't that deep. But when you look at Natlan, they took that shit to a whole new level, bro. And then you look at Not Cray is a step further. So the same shit can happen with negative status, where right now we're like, it's not that deep. They're not releasing a lot of characters who who revolve around negative status. But you never know, later on in the future, when they do release characters that rely on negative status, and if it's a character that you like, you're fucking cooked. Then you have to summon for that limited 5-star character. So negative status is EOS potential, and we need more 4-star units. He forgot 4-star characters. That's what he was missing. He should have put 4-star units. That is 4-star units is EOS potential, and I would say community destroying potential for sure. Community destroying. Niche Twitter level drama. Mavuika Augusta agree. Scar Onigiri. This one is this happened tier, because who the fuck cares about that? Male characters. I would put consequential, because some people will leave the game if they don't put enough male characters. This over here, the Ryuku Sensei thing, whatever. This happened here, and comparing waves, niche Twitter level drama. That's my ranking. But hey, good video, man. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you guys do the same as well. This was a pretty nice video, man. And if you guys want me to react to more videos, join my Discord. And you can send me some videos to react to. That one was pretty funny. It was pretty chill, very creative. All right, very. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What is your ranking when it comes to woo drama? Let me know. But I hope you guys have a good one. I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Adios.